In a typical Ponzi scheme, clients are promised a substantial payoff at little to no risk. Fraudsters that operate Ponzi schemes put all of their efforts toward luring new investors. The returns to the initial investors are paid using the revenue of the new investors, which is designated as a profit from a legal transaction. Ponzi schemes depend on a steady stream of new investments to keep giving older investors profits. The plan fails when this flow is exhausted. Welcome to today's episode of Fraud Files. We'll be talking about the case of a Vacaville man who was given an 8-year prison sentence for running the $1 billion DC Solar Ponzi scheme. Make sure to watch the entire video to learn all the details of this story. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell icon to receive notifications of our upcoming videos. Let's get started. In Santa Cruz, California, U.S. Attorney Philip A. Talbert announced that Alan Hansen, 51, of Vacaville, had been convicted of taking part in a $1 billion Ponzi scheme, including DC Solar, and had been given an 8-year prison sentence as well as an order to pay $619,415,950 in restitution. Hansen entered a guilty plea to conspiring to conduct an offense against the United States and to assisting in money laundering on July 23, 2020. Court records state that DC Solar produced mobile solar generator units, solar generators placed on trailers, between 2011 and 2018. The company stated that emergency power for cellular towers and lights for athletic and other events were provided by mobile solar generators, which were praised for their adaptability and environmental sustainability. Jeff Karpoff, 51, Paulette Karpoff, 51, and their accomplices recruited investors by stating that investments in alternative energy were associated with advantageous federal tax benefits. They attempted to hide the scam by, among other things, getting phony lease agreements, fabricating lease agreements, generating false financial statements, and selling investors solar generators that didn't exist. At least half of the 17,000 solar generators that DC Solar claimed to have produced in actuality don't exist, and the company paid early investors with money from later investors. Hansen worked for a telecom firm that had had sporadic dealings with DC Solar, according to court filings. In that capacity, Hansen collected $1 million from DC Solar's accomplices in exchange for signing a fictitious contract that purported to indicate a far higher amount of alleged business leasing MSGs. That bogus contract was utilized by Hansen's accomplices to persuade victims to make substantial investments in DC Solar. Hansen quit his previous work and joined DC Solar after signing the deal, where he received a sizable pay raise. Later, when working at DC Solar, Hansen and a companion consented to split $20,000 in cash from Jeff Karpoff in exchange for their signatures being forged on an agreement pertaining to the earlier deal by a former telecom employee. The falsified contract and fraudulent contract were utilized by Hansen's accomplices to persuade more victims to pay for MSGs. Through a series of interstate wire transactions into an account he set up in the name of a consulting company, Hansen received payment for signing the first fraudulent contract. Hansen was aware that the funds he received came from investors of DC Solar who had been duped into making the payments. On November 9, 2021, Jeff Karpoff was found guilty of conspiring to commit wire fraud and money laundering and received a sentence of 30 years in prison and a restitution order for $790.6 million. Paulette Karpoff, his wife, has admitted guilt to conspiracy to defraud the United States and money laundering. She was sentenced to 11 years in prison. On November 16, 2021, Joseph W. Bayless, 46, of Martinez, California, was found guilty of securities fraud and conspiracy in connection with the DC Solar scheme and was given a 3-year jail sentence as well as a $481.3 million restitution order. Robert A. Carman, CFO of DC Solar, 55, of Clayton, was given a 6-year prison term and forced to pay $624 million on April 12, 2022. Two of the other defendants, Ronald J. Roach, 55, of Walnut Creek, and Ryan Guidry, 55, of Pleasant Hill, both pled guilty to felony charges associated with the fraud scheme. They are set to be sentenced later in 2022. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, the IRS Criminal Investigation, and the Office of Inspector General of the Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation looked into this case. The case is being brought forth by Assistant U.S. Attorneys Christopher S. Hales and Kevin C. Kasagian. The maximum statutory punishment for Roach is 10 years in jail. The federal sentencing guidelines, which evaluate a number of elements, as well as any applicable statutory factors, will be taken into account before the court decides on the actual penalties, though. And here we come to the end of today's episode of Fraud Files regarding multiple defendants who were given 8-year prison sentences and 30-year prison sentences for running the $1 billion DC Solar Ponzi scheme. The amount of cash involved with this massive fraud is hard to imagine. We doubt much of the required restitution will be paid. Please subscribe to our channel and push on that like button. Stay tuned to our channel for amazing videos like this one by clicking the bell icon. And don't forget to share your thoughts in the comment section below about this event. We'll see you in another Fraud Files soon.